Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca. So before we get into the video, what are you guys waiting for? Don't forget to like, leave a comment and also subscribe. It really just helps to boost my videos. So I hope you're all well. Today's video is going to be on the kids' bedtime routine. So quite a lot of people have asked me, what are the kids' bedtime routine? With children or adults with either ADHD or autism, they can sometimes have issues with sleeping. And obviously if you're a working mum or even just a mum in general, no one wants to be just up all night. Like, we already go through that in the newborn stage. No one wants to keep going through that. I just thought I'd share a few of the tips that I've done to kind of help get the boys settled into a good bedtime routine. So I think a routine is so important. Just before one, both the kids have always kind of slept through the night, but there has been times when their sleep has been a bit troubled, maybe when they're teething, or winter time I've noticed that they have trouble sleeping as well. So yeah, all sorts of things can cause issues for why children may wake up at night. Obviously I know that some cases are a bit more severe, and sometimes some people might actually have to go to the GP. There is a medication that is called melatonin, and pediatricians, I think, are the ones that are supposed to prescribe that for parents for their child if they have trouble. It does work for some people, but it also doesn't work for others. The best thing to do with your children in order for them to have the best bedtime routine is to have a strict routine. So that means I normally give my children dinner at 6:30, no later than 6:30, from 6 to about 6:30. So once they sit down to have their dinner at 6:30, they're normally finished by about 6:45. I then put them in a bath. I put them in a nice, hot, relaxing bath, whether it's winter or summer. And I like to give them hot baths because it just relaxes them. So after they've had a hot bath, I let them stay in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then they normally come out around like 5 minutes or 7:10. So when they've come out of the bath around 7:10, then I get them ready, put their pajamas on, give them a nice massage with some oils or their creams. And then normally it's around 7:15 at this point, 7:15 or 7:20. So around this time, this is when I like to give them their downtime. So I allow them to be on their iPads and just chill in their beds. When it gets to about 7:45, I then do a countdown with them. So I say to them 5 more minutes. So that means 5 more minutes of screen time and then they go into bed. So then I take off their iPads from them. And normally, yes, they do whinge and cry, which most children will do because obviously they just want to stay up all night. But what I then do is then I say to them, they have the choice to pick whatever story they want. And normally it's the same story, The Wheels on the Bus. So then they pick a story. So this is normally around 10 minutes or 5 minutes to 8. And what I do is I try to drag the story. So the storybook normally is no longer than about 6 pages long because you want to keep them engaged. You want to make sure it's fun. So I dance with them, I sing with them. I also let them read the book to me. So it kind of makes it like a fun activity for them, and it distracts them away from the fact that they're not on their iPads anymore. So after I've done this, I then say, okay, the end. I make sure I do that every single time. I count it down and I say the end, and then they know this is now bedtime. Then I turn off the light. I leave the light on in the passageway, but I turn off their bedroom light and I say it's bedtime now. Round about now, this will take us up to about 8 p.m. So when it's 8 o'clock now, I then go away from the room. In the first few times, they like Jojo, my little one, would always run up to my room. I would always just take him back to his bed and say, look, it's bedtime now. You need to be in your bed and you need to go to sleep. And normally about 5 or 10 minutes later, they're both asleep. This has really worked for me, and it ensures that I now have my me time after they've gone to bed, which is normally 8 o'clock. The latest is always about 8:30, and those times is probably when they may be a bit sick, and obviously like they're finding it hard to sleep because maybe their nose are blocked or stuff like that. But normally by 8:30, the latest, they're always asleep in their beds. I think the key things in there are the bath time routine, and having a bit of screen time before while they're in bed, because then they're relaxed, they're in their bed, they've had a bit of screen time, and then the bedtime, the book as well being read to them after. That routine is literally every single day. The only times I don't do it is probably sometimes on the weekend when I'm a bit tired. I do sometimes read to them, but most of the time on the weekend, I'll kind of just leave them to it. Especially in the winter, I might not actually give them a bath for one day, just because I feel like, because it's so cold, I don't want it. It's sometimes it's easy for them to get colds if you bath them every single day. And what I find is if the later you keep them up, then the harder they struggle to wake up in the morning. And it's also important for us to have our own free time as well. Like them having that routine of going to bed early, it really just does help us to kind of get our own time, even if it's for like an hour or two, to kind of chill out. Then we also have to go sleep at a reasonable time so we can make sure we're up bright and early for them in the morning. I would say try and get a routine with your child. Find what books interest them. So if their favourite cartoon is Peppa Pig or Paw Patrol, or even if it's one of the nursery rhymes, get that book, make it fun with them, and be persistent. So one thing I would say that is an issue, if you sleep in your child's bed, if you let your child sleep with you, then it kind of breaks that routine and your child thinks that that's the norm. So for example, when there's days when the kids are sick, or even weeks when the kids are sick, and I do want to keep them in my bed just so I can monitor them, it then causes the confusion of them thinking that now it's okay to sleep in mummy's bed. You have to obviously break that habit and put them back into their bed, because if you don't, it's going to take a toll on you and your mental health. I hope these tips work for you. And just remember, don't be too hard on yourself. It took me a while for me to get to this place where the kids have a good bedtime routine. There is going to be moaning, there is going to be crying, but you have to just be firm with it, because trust me, when they're asleep and it's 8 o'clock and you think, oh my gosh, I've got the rest of the night to myself, it will make you feel so much better to know you have that free time. It can be exhausting, but after a while, they'll sleep longer and longer. Like I mentioned earlier, there is going to be some children that may need medication to get there. But I think even with that, it doesn't have to be a continuous thing. After a while, their bodies will hopefully adjust to it and they won't have to need that medication to always fall asleep. So those are my tips for how I get my kids to have a good bedtime routine, how I get them to have good long hours of sleep, and then I also get my good long hours of rest. I hope these tips work for you. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to make a video about. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.